Hey, Brandon here. Welcome to the channel and thanks for tuning in. I'm continuing a series on this YouTube channel looking at the 2025 rookie class. And today I've got my top 20 wide receivers 2.0 show. I did this show back in the middle of the summer, and here after week 4 of college football, I'm back at it and got my 2.0 version of my top 20 rookie wide receivers. Already did my 2.0 version show of my running backs and quarterbacks. So if you haven't seen them on the channel, go take a look at those. I would appreciate it. You play Dynasty football, man. These shows are great because these are the players that you're going to be looking at drafting in your rookie drafts next year, right? So before we get started, if you want to help support the channel and support me and my work, man, consider subscribing to my dashboard. My email's on the bottom of the screen. It's a great resource. I've got databases for the 2025 rookie class, 2026, and 2027 rookie classes. Again, you play Dynasty, even redraft fantasy football, and you want to get an early look at future classes, hit me up via email. I'll give you a 2-week subscription. It is a pretty cool database of over 500 players with scouting reports, films, all sorts of good stuff. All right, man, let's get to the show. All right, so I'm gonna break these down into tiers, right? I got my top 20 wide receivers, but I'm gonna break them down into tiers. And my tier 1 is basically round 1, day 1 draft capital, all right? So as a little bit of history lessons I like to provide when I do these shows, in 2023 we had 4 wide receivers drafted in the first round. In 2024 we had 7 wide receivers drafted, and in my version here today I'm going to give you 3 guys. I think there's only 3 wide receivers at this moment that I think are going to get day 1 draft capital. All right. So let's just start it right off. All right. My first guy is Travis Hunter. Now, the big question with Travis Hunter is he going to declare as a wide receiver or a defensive back? And we just don't know yet, but I'm going to make an assumption for this video that he is going to declare as a wide receiver. All right. So, and if he does, I mean, there's arguably, I've seen him mocked number 1 overall in the draft. I think whether he plays wide receiver or cornerback. So this is a very special athlete. And I mean, he's just killing it at Colorado. All right. Through 4 games, he has 472 yards already and 5 touchdowns. I think, he's 6'1", 185. It's like the perfect size, not too big and bulky, not too small, but right in the sweet spot of size, which, allowed him to just be a space creator all over the field, right? He's got enough length. He's got enough height a little bit, but he's, I think, the most well-rounded running or wide receiver in the draft, and I've got him at the top of my tier 1 prospects. All right, second guy I want to talk about is Tatira McMillan, 6'5", 205 pounds. Now this guy's been blowing up he is a true junior. Hunter is also a true junior. McMillan is a true junior through 4 games, 453 yards, 4 TDs, very similar stats to Hunter. This guy is he's the big, tall, guy. Reminds me of Drake London, right? That kind of player. He's got the length. He's got that contested catch ability, but don't underestimate his ability to run with the ball in the second level after the catch. He's a decent route runner. It's probably, if there's one thing about him that I'm clearly watching his film after watching his all-22 film in 2023 tape, is his ability to create at the top of his routes and stems, and he's doing a really good job on the 2024 season doing that. So he is going to be a first-round wide receiver taken in the draft. And if there's a team out there that might have a lot of smaller receivers that needs that big go-to guy, can he be a wide receiver 1 on a team? I believe he can. So I've got Tech McMillan here at number 2, all right, in my tier 1. And really 2A, or 2B rather, it was Luther Burden, the Missouri wide receiver, 5'11", 218 pounds. Again, he is also a true junior, and I'm expecting all 3 of these players to declare getting the first round draft buzz that they're getting. I doubt either of them are going to go back to college football. But through 3 games, his stats aren't as great, with only 257 yards and 4 TDs. But Luther Burden is that all well-rounded. Again, he's not going to be that big contested catch guy, but I think he's a nuanced route runner, space creator, right? Space creation is the name of the game in the wide receiver room. And this guy is really explosive with the ball in his hands. And I think he's going to be very attractive to NFL teams out there that may have a bigger, wide receiver 1 already on a team that want to double down, like the Arizona Cardinals, maybe, right? Like maybe a team like them that want to give Kyle Murray, just not Marvin Harrison Jr., but then give him another, just like my Philadelphia Eagles, they've got Devonta Smith and A.J. Brown, kind of 1A, 1B. I'd like to see Burden land on a team like that where he actually isn't having to come in and be, the lead guy and take on the burden of being a wide receiver one. But Luther Bird has got an all-around fantastic skill set, explosive player. So those are the three guys in my tier one. And I am not going to get into depth and details on their game in this video. Okay, I want to keep it somewhat short. I'm going to be doing all sorts of, film breakdowns on these guys and rookie reports where we really dig into their skill sets and all that stuff. But for this show, I'm just really going over the tiers right now to give you guys in Dynasty an early look at what the rookie class is going to look like. We all love our wide receivers, right? When we draft in our rookie drafts, right? Have a much better chance of hitting. But one thing I'd like to mention actually before I get out of this tier, where do these three players actually compare to the neighbors and Harrison and Odunze that we had last year? And I'm going to say Travis Hunter is probably in that tier group, but I don't think McMillan and Luther Burden are as explosive as those three players. So overall, compared to the 2024 draft that we just had this past April, like I said, we had 7 wide receivers taken, and I think some teams reached with the Ricky Pearsalls and the Xavier Legettes, and I think they reached in round 1 for some of these players, and I don't think that's going to happen this year. I think there's too many defensive players in this draft that are going to be too exciting, and players are going to, some of these wide receivers are going to drop. But anyway, I just wanted to kind of see, because it's one question I get from my dashboard subscribers is like, where do these guys, rank and compared to the last year? And I think Travis Hunter is in that group of 3 from this past season. But nonetheless, McMillan and Burden are top tier, wide receivers in this draft. All right. Let's get to the tier 2 prospects. Okay, that I got. All right, a little bit of history. All right, back in 2023, we had 10 wide receivers drafted in rounds 2 and 3, and in 2024 we had 9. So I've got 7 projected on my board right now. And I'm going to start off with Trey Harris, 6'2", 205 pounds. And if there's a guy that is just blowing up right now in college football, just stats-wise and just his continuous production. Now, look, I know through week 4, Ole Miss has not played the toughest competition. They're going to start playing some SEC teams here and start getting a little bit more, competition. But 6'2", 205 pounds, this guy reminds me of Rashee Rice, right? Admittedly, I was not as high on Rashee Rice coming out a couple years ago. He is just, continues to produce for the Kansas City Chiefs. And I watched Trey Harris, and he's kind of like my player comp. He's kind of good all over the field, good with the ball in his hands, but he just seems to get open all the time. So through the 4 games in 2024, 628 yards and 4 TDs, he is a 5th-year player, just to put that out there. I don't think the NFL cares anymore really how old these kids are. Not like it used to be. But nonetheless, Trey Harris is at the top of my tier 2. Again, these are round 2 and 3 players that I project to be drafted on day 2 of the NFL draft next year. All right, Emeka Egbuka, Ohio State wide receiver, surprisingly came back for his senior year. I guess maybe it's not a surprise. He was dinged up as a junior. He's back, 6'1", 205 pounds, 266 yards and 1 touchdown through 4 games. And again, they're going to spread the ball around a lot. Will Howard's going to be, spreading the ball around to Jeremiah Smith, Carnell Tate. I mean, there's a lot of guys. You got Judkins and Henderson out of the backfield that are probably going to be getting some passes. But Emeka Egbuka is an overall good wide receiver, okay? Do I think he can be a wide receiver 1 on a team? I do not. I think he's going to be a great complementary, solid wide receiver 2 on a team. But he's playing really well, and looking forward to watching him this year continue to really, one criticism I've had watching his 2022 and 2023 All-22 film was, I never saw that vertical play, the vertical, deep shots where he consistently is getting behind the secondary. So that's going to be what I'm going to be watching in the 2024 season here as we are in the middle of college football. But nonetheless, he is, I think, an early day 2 selection in the draft. Now, I've seen him mocked in day 1. I don't think, for me personally, again, given how deep defense is in this draft, I think he's going to be an early day 2 selection. All right, coming in at number 6, kind of overall, and again, I've got these tiers kind of ranked with players, but more in tiers. I'm going to go with Kyron Lacy, 6'2", 215 pounds. Now, he is also a 5th-year player, started his career out at Lafayette for 2 seasons. He's had to wait his turn at LSU, but we've seen LSU wide receivers emerge late in their careers. Kyron Lacy has impressed this year with his route running ability. His hands are solid, 245 yards, 5 TDs. Nussmeier, the new quarterback there with Jaden Daniels now a commander, is really focusing in on him. And I'm expecting Kyron Lacy really to rise up draft boards as we go through the college football season. He's had some really good highlight films, highlight plays already, really showcasing his ability to, he's got good length, strong hands, and I believe he can create space at the top of his routes. So he's going to be a player that I think is going to continue to rise in the draft. All right. Isaiah Bond, 5'11", 182 pounds. All right. He is a true junior, has spent his first 2 years at Alabama, goes to Texas, has 290 yards, 3 TDs through 4 games, through week 4. And I've got him here now. There's a lot of talk about Isaiah Bond being a first-round draft selection, and I'm just a little concerned about his height. And as much as he's an explosive, twitchy space creator, right? This guy can, turn DBs in phone booths and just, really create space for himself, which is great. But again, these smaller receivers, as much as we love their twitchiness and stuff, their success at the NFL, is not as much. And he's listed at 5'11", and I'm going to bet he comes in at 5'10", 180 pounds. And I get a little weary on guys who are super explosive but a little small. So that's why I don't have them in tier 1. Now there's, so leave me a comment on this video, guys. I mean, if you think I'm nuts, let me know. I've seen him mocked in first rounds, but again, I think there's going to be a little bit of fade in wide receivers. This wide receiver group as a whole compared to 2024, it's kind of about the same. 2 or 3, 4 guys at the top, and then there's a tier break, and then it's going to see landing spots I think are going to play an important role. Isaiah Bond, I don't believe can be a wide receiver 1 on a team, so again, he's going to have to be a complementary piece. Explosive player, solid day 2 selection. In the draft next year. Evan Stewart, 6 foot, 175 pounds, also a true junior, started his career 2 years at Texas A&M, had to get out of there, goes to Oregon. 153 yards and 1 TD through 4 games. All right, we're looking for a little bit more productivity. Dylan Gabriel there is now tossing the ball around for the Ducks. Again, he is, in that tier 2 range of wide receivers for me. And again, a lot of this is going to change. I'm going to be doing this video, guys, every month throughout the whole 2025 draft cycle. So again, please hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell when these videos come down, because things are going to change, right? But this is where I watch a ton of film on these guys. I am just like a film grinder. Watch the All-22 film when it comes out. And, Evan Stewart, I like what I see. We've done, my podcast co-host Jason DiRienzo and I, we did a lot of All-22 film breakdowns on him this past summer. And he is a twitchy athlete as well who can create space. Just want to see his versatility a little bit more, and really would want to see a little bit more production, I think, adding to his profile for, I think, NFL scouts to get super excited. He went to Oregon to raise his draft capital, and let's see if he can do that. Number 9, Antoine Wells Jr. He is a Ole Miss wide receiver, again, playing alongside of Trey Harris, right? And this is a guy that's been one of my favorite receivers in the draft. Now, he was nicked up all last year, didn't play. He has only 274 yards and 4 TDs through the first 4 weeks of college football, 6'1", 208. He is also a 5th-year player, started at James Madison, went to South Carolina, played with Rattler for a little bit, and then, got injured. Now he's at Ole Miss. Jackson Dart's throwing the ball all over the field. So again, these 2 guys, Harris and Wells, are 2 of the top wide receivers in the nation as far as I'm concerned. This guy is a physical freak who's got the ability. He's got deep speed as well. So I think he is one of those just tough physical, reminds me of like a Deebo Samuel type player. Isn't going to blow you away with his explosiveness, but tough physical player, good contested catch guy who can do some damage in the second level with the ball in his hands. And he's always been kind of a favorite of mine. So I got him here in tier 2. All right. The last guy that I have in tier 2, rounding out my top 10 receivers, is Alec Manor. 2 years at Stanford. Last year, we all know the Colorado game, 3 touchdowns, arguably one of the best second halves of a wide receiver, put on film that I could ever remember watching. I mean, and just, got Stanford to come back and I believe beat Colorado in that game. He was just amazing through 4 games. He's 234 yards and 1 TD through 4 weeks. And, I like what I see. Again, 6'2", 210. He's going to be one of these bigger receivers. He could be higher on a lot of boards. He is higher on a lot of boards for guys, but for me, I just don't see the elite space creation and route running nuance when I watch him. Now, things can change. He can improve. And there's a chance he might come back for another season at Stanford as well. So keep your eye on Elike Manor. He is a stock player on the rise. So I got him here basically rounding out my tier 2 prospects. All right. Like I said, I'm going to keep this short, go through the players, and I got a lot more films on this YouTube channel going more in depth on several of the players that we're talking about today. Tier 3 prospects for me, rounds 4 through 5. Little history, 2023, we had 6 wide receivers drafted. In 2024, we had 8 wide receivers drafted at the beginning of day 3 in rounds 4 and 5. And for me in this show today, we're going to talk, I got 7 players in this round. So I kind of just went right in the sweet spot in between. Deion Burks comes in here at the top of this tier, 5'11", 195, not 3 productive seasons, but 3 seasons at Purdue. Goes to Oklahoma, 201 yards, 3 TDs. He is nicked up here as we head into week 5 of college football. But man, this guy, 5'11", 195, he is just built differently. Again, smaller size, but man, he is thick and he's got a good frame. Really, really good use of him around the wide line of scrimmage. In the short area quickness of his calling card, and then the physicality with the ball in his hands, making guys miss and getting those all-important yak yards is what he brings to the table on a regular basis at Oklahoma. So I've got him as an early day 3 selection. I don't see anything about his game that is going to vault him up into day 2 right now, but like I said, things can change. All right, one of my favorite college wide receivers, Xavier Restrepo, scrappy wide receiver, slot receiver from Miami, 5'10", 198 pounds, through 4 weeks of college football, 361 yards, 5 TDs. I mean, he is a slot receiver. Cam Ward is just peppering him with targets. I think he's going to have a great season. I mean, his reception percentage, 76% on the season. This guy has got sticky hands. I like to call a blue-collar wide receiver, man. A guy that just gets the tough yards. Nothing flashy about his game. One of those chain-moving kind of wide receivers. Can beat you deep, but he just works the zone coverages so well in Miami, and I think he's very smart. Be a kind of a player I'd love to see the Eagles draft in early day 3 of just, again, a team that needs a slot receiver. This guy is not going to be a wide receiver 1, I believe, or 2. He is going to be a complementary piece in a wide receiver room on a good team. Hopefully he gets a landing spot where he doesn't, he can get some space and, be that safety blanket for a quarterback in the NFL. All right, coming in next, kind of at number 13 in my tier 3 here is one of my, a player that is a fan favorite of my podcast co-host, Jason DiRienzo. Dane Key, 6'3", 210 pounds. He's been banging the table for this kid for years. 264 yards, no TDs yet. Brock Vandergrift is the quarterback for Kentucky, who's just not very good. So again, Dane Key's production is going to be limited only because of the quarterback play, the offensive scheme. But I'll tell you, I love the guy's size. He can get open. He can win vertically. He can win in the short area parts of the field. Really good receiver who I believe is undervalued. And Jason, like I said, has been pounding the table for this kid, and I trust his analysis as well. So he's kind of like a dark horse, I think, in the draft as we continue to go through the season. Maybe they can get him the ball a little bit more. Week 4, he had a really good week to put his name back on the map a little bit, but he's going to need a little bit more production. So we got some film to watch on him throughout the season. But keep your eye out for Dane Key. He is a player who I think is going to be a riser as we go through the process. Now, he is a true junior. Chances are that he could go back for his senior year. But right now, I've got him as a tier 3 prospect here in the early day 3 portion of the NFL draft. All right. Number 14, another player that my podcast co-host Jason and I have been really, really high on is Antonio Williams, 5'11", 190 pound. Again, this is going to be another slot receiver. He is a true junior, starting to emerge here in his third season. As a sophomore, he had some injuries, and we really didn't get the production and the film to be able to see what he was all about. Really came out well his freshman year. Now, he may go back to Clemson for his senior year. Klubnik, I'm hoping, can get him the ball. This past week, he had 2 touchdowns. But this guy is a really, really good route runner, right? A nuanced route runner, a defensively manipulating route runner, another guy who can just exploit zone coverages, and I think he can win one-on-one on the outside. Plays primarily in the slot right now, but I think he would be another great addition, similar to Restrepo that we talked about, is a team needing a good slot wide receiver who's not going to ask him to do too much on an offense. But keep your eye on Antonio Williams. I'm hoping, again, Clemson continue to just get better and better in offense and really showcase Williams' skills, because I think deep down they're in there. We just haven't been able to see it on a regular basis through his injury and through the quarterback play there at Clemson. All right, coming in next here in Tier 3, Ty Felton, 6'2", 181-pound wide receiver. His 4th year at Maryland, who's really creating some buzz. I just cut up a couple of his films. I'll be putting it out on this YouTube channel. Really like what I see with this guy, man. I mean, he's used a lot around the line of scrimmage, but, you know, his ADOT this year is down from previous years, which is 10.5, which is the average depth of target. But back in last year was 14, and it was 14 the year before. But every year at Maryland, 51 yards, 240 yards, 732 yards, and he has 599 yards already and 5 touchdowns. And the PFF grades are all in the high 90s for him. So he is a riser right now. This is the kind of player like a Ricky Pearsall, right? A senior who really nobody knew at the beginning of the year, but who emerges, and a guy who is just getting better and better with more experience. It takes time sometimes for these players really to emerge. Coaching plays a role, and just time on the field. So Felton is a name on the rise, and I could see him being an early day 2 or day 3 selection. That's why I have him here in Tier 3. All right, Tez Johnson, 5'10", 160 pounds. This is Bo Nix's stepbrother. He came back for his 5th season through 4 weeks, 190 yards and 2 TDs. Now, look, and I like Tez Johnson. I think he is a twitchy guy, but at 5'10", 160 pounds, he is going to be an outlier. Now, some people compare him to Tank Dell. Tank Dell is injured again. He broke his leg last year. He's got an injury this year. I don't know if he's even playing this year. So these smaller guys sometimes, you know, they could be outliers. I mean, Tez Johnson is going to be a complementary piece on a team. So, you know, what is his dynasty and fantasy value? Well, landing spot's going to play a huge role. I mean, if he finds himself on a team with a great quarterback with, you know, targets, you know, available, you know, target share, well, yeah, I mean, he might. But if he gets himself buried on a team, you know, that is, you know, how an offense is used them. His size here. Now, I've seen him projected as, you know, high day 2. I just don't see it. I mean, look, he's an explosive player, good with the ball in his hands, you know, really twitchy kind of athlete. But again, the size, he'd be an outlier, right? I mean, the best that we could hope would be like a Wan'Dale Robinson role right now that's happening in the Giants, a player that I really like coming out of Kentucky. He would be a comp for me, given that, you know, Wan'Dale Robinson, you know, he's listed at 5'10", 160. He's probably more like 5'8.5". That's what happened to Wan'Dale Robinson, if you remember. We all thought he was 5'11", and he came in at 5'8". So we're going to assume that he's smaller than that. But Tez Johnson, explosive player who should have a really good season at Oregon this year. All right, last guy I want to talk about in my Tier 3 wide receivers 2.0 update is Ricky White, 6'1", 190 pounds. Was really impressed with his 2023 tape at UNLV. He's been there for 3 seasons. He is a true senior right now. Off to a slow start with only 126 yards, but he does have 3 TDs. So his production is down, but man, I still really like the skill set at 6'1", 190 pounds. He plays out wide at that position, and I love his physicality. If you've not watched a lot of Ricky White, he is a fun player to watch, and I'm hoping his productivity at UNLV, you know, kind of increases, but the offense, the quarterback could be an issue to really get that production that we're looking for. But in any case, Ricky White, I believe, is, you know, projected right now for me to be a day 3 guy, you know, probably more of a round kind of 5 player in the NFL draft. All right. All right, so let's get to our tier 4 prospects. We got 3 more guys that we're going to talk about that, and again, this is we're down deep now. Are these guys going to be fantasy relevant players? Probably not, but we're going to talk about them anyway. There's 3 guys left to round out my top 20. The first guy I want to talk about is Dante Thornton. He's playing at Tennessee right now, 242 yards, 3 TDs. Spent 2 years at Oregon, transferred to Tennessee last year. This year he has shown some really explosive vertical plays down the field at 6'4", 185 pounds. Very interested to see what he runs. He showed some really good, space creation vertically in week 4 and had some really deep passes. The concern I have, and he could be a riser. Just seems like the Tennessee wide receivers just don't seem to hit our rosters. Remember Jalen Hyatt? Everyone was excited about him, and he led the nation in yardage and in that open offense. Cedric Tillman was a guy that I was a fan of. Just can't seem to create space there at Cleveland. Don't think he's ever really going to be a dynasty asset. That was kind of like a miss icon. So I kind of feel like Dante Thornton is kind of in that same realm of player, but he's been showing out a lot lately, and he has my interest peaked, and is somebody I'm going to watch a little bit more film on. All right, Jeremy Bernard is 6'1", 209 pounds. Okay, he is going to Alabama. This is his 3rd transfer, which is a little concerning. Through week 4. 125 yards and 1 TD. Big game coming up this week, against Georgia. So we're going to see what he can do. But there was a lot of excitement for Bernard going into the season that he was going to be an NFL draft pick. Right now, I don't see him being anything more than a day 3 flyer for an NFL franchise. But, we'll have to see how it goes. He really hasn't had a lot of production through his career. So he's going to need to really come out. I want some wow moments from this kid. Let me see what he has on the field, because sometimes it's all you need, right? You just need someone to see what their ability is. Sometimes the offense and the quarterback doesn't allow them to showcase their skills on a regular basis, but we get flashes. All right, last guy I want to talk about in the film here, Kobe Hudson, UCF, 6'1", 200 pounds. He's going to round out my top 20. This guy is a fifth year player as well. Was 2 years at Auburn, 3 years at UCF. Off to a great start this year. Really emerged last year. 310 yards and 2 TDs in 2024. This is a guy that I'm just starting to watch the film on a little bit more. So I'm excited about Kobe Hudson. He could be one of those kind of risers as we go through this process. So there you guys got it, man. That is my top 20 wide receivers for the 2025 draft 2.0 version. Like I said, I'm going to be doing this show once a month. I'm going to drop my first tight end show this week as well. So please hit that subscribe button. If you like this content, we're going to be doing all sorts of rookie reviews and film reviews and everything. We are scouting the 2025 rookies for you Dynasty junkies out there that are already trying to get an idea of what this class looks like. All right. Thanks for watching.